Good evening, everyone. Hopefully you can see me and hear me. Got a new camera, so I'm not entirely sure whether you can see me, but everything looks good. Let's start by saying hello to everyone. Welcome. The Friday night live stream, the Aquarium Adventures live stream, where we talk about aquatic stuff and some tangents as well. So we've got a few people in who are early tonight. Welcome, early crew. Thank you for joining us. And we'll do a bit of admin as well. If this is your first time here, welcome, first of all. Nice to see you. Say hello in the chat, and I'll say hello back at some point. But yes, if it's your first time here, this is an aquatic-based channel, mostly freshwater stuff. I make videos about my fish room, my aquariums, the fish that I keep in them, sometimes care guides, sometimes how-tos, build guides, whatever I happen to be up to, I'll make a video about it. And then we have a Friday night live stream where we come and say hello and we have a chat about it, and then we go off and firing off in tangents and talk about all kinds of nonsense. So if any of that interests you in any way, it would be really nice if you would click that subscribe button, because I'm trying to get some more people. More people are watching my video these days, but not more people. Man not no speak how to. Lots more people are watching my videos these days, but not many more people are clicking the subscribe button. So if you could click the subscribe button down below, I would be ever so thankful. But with that said, let's just see who we've got in the chat with us tonight. I'm going to assume you can see me and hear me because I've got green lights all over my streaming stuff, so that's usually a good sign. We've got Alan Hopkinson. Just seen the thumbnail and thought it'd be rude not to say hi. Yeah, so in the thumbnail, I like to change it up every now and again. I'm going to sneeze. I don't know whether I'm going to sneeze right now or in about 10 minutes, but it's going to happen. We'll see. This will be a nice surprise for all of us. So I like to change the thumbnail up every now and again. It's been Discus for a while. I finally got my first snakehead. You'll be happy to hear. And also think they're awesome, so I thought I'd stick a wee snakehead in there. So I have a pair of snakeheads in the fish room who are currently just hiding away most of the time, but I'm encouraging them out with little treats, so hopefully we'll have some videos on them soon as well. Bazzy B, ready with the pizza and the Coke. Well, this evening the beverage I will be enjoying. I've already been enjoying too much of it, clearly. Beverage I will be enjoying is a wee glass of Heineken. But whatever floats your boat, non-alcoholic's just as good. Miwichi Ways says hello, doing the water changes tonight. NJW, hi from Doncaster, hi from Sheffield. Courtney's here. We've got Chief Moderator Jennifer's in the house. Evening, everyone. Still at work, but hope you join in an hour. Oh, this was an hour ago, my God. Some of you do get in early. Hit the like, subscribe and all that good stuff. Yes, if you click all the buttons, if you see something that can be clicked, click it. You don't have to pay for anything. This is all free. Just click the things. That's your only requirement, is click some clickables. Scott's here, Simon's here. Lee Jones had a great day out buying some new stock at Premier Aquatics Runcorn. How about I move the chat over here, and then it's kind of like I'm looking at the camera when I read it. What did you get, Lee? Premier Aquatics. I've not made it over to Premier Aquatics yet. I'd like to go and visit one day. Skins Arno says hello. TikTok PC Tech says hello all. William Buckley's here, and who else we got? We've got Michelle. Hello everyone, hope you're doing well this evening. I do like to read this out because I know a lot of people listen to this either while they're driving or in the background or whatever it might be. So I'm not just sitting here reading out everyone's comments. It's just the immersive experience for everyone that can't be here with us live with access to type. Mary Rhodes, GB, Rocky's Rocky, Atehimne, that man whose name I can't say, Mark Brennan, Silver Surfer, Paul Buckley, hello everyone, evening all. Even Nightbot's in. Say hello to Nightbot. Let's all be nice to Nightbot for once. Kaylee says, good evening everyone. Good evening yourself. And there you go. Excellent plug from good old Simon, making a play for Chief Moderator himself while Jennifer's at work. If you can't get enough fishy business, So if you do like this kind of thing and you want to carry on the after party throughout the week, up here, oh, I got it right for once. Up here is a link to the Discord server. So Discord is a bit like a chat room. Is that how you would describe it? Or am I just really, really old? It's a bit like a chat room. Various channels where you can go and share pictures of your aquarium. General nonsense, nothing to do with aquariums. Chat about whatever you want to. Ask for advice, questions, show off, whatever you want. Join up there. There's a link there. And I'm sure one of my excellent moderators will be putting the link in the chat as well. And you can say hello there too. We've got quite the little community growing. Put your snake head away. Yes, indeed, missus. Bazzy B, Mary Road, loud and clear. That's what we want to hear. Right, we've got some loud and clear. It is clear, isn't it, Scott? So, do you remember about 6 months ago when I don't know if I made a video. I make a video about everything that happens, but I think I made a video saying, oh no, I've dropped my camera and it smashed to 1,000 pieces. And I immediately went out and bought a new camera. Well, no, there. That's the camera I used to shoot. In fact, let's go and show off. So this is the camera that I've been using ever since day one. It's a Canon M50D. 50D? It's not called a 50D, it's just an M50. And I have this big old lens on it, which is like a Tamron 18 to 55, whatever it is, which is a fantastic lens. Look at that. So it's a great little camera, the M50 by Canon. It's a mirrorless, tiny little thing, really good quality. I have that up there, but I dropped it and the camera bit smashed to smithereens, so I bought this. This is the Mark II. And then this week, the old one came back from repair. I'd forgotten I'd even sent it for repair. And I've got that up there with the 22mm Canon 22mm lens. And it is clear. I have dicked about with the settings in OBS, so it's not all just the camera change. But because I changed the camera, it made me go and check some settings. And yes, it's clear. I'm happy with that. So I hope that answers everything. So now I can just leave this as my permanent streaming setup. That camera can live up there with that lens. It's kind of the perfect size to get my big fat head in and anything else I want to show. And then if I want to go down to the fish room, I don't have to sit there unscrewing the thing for hours to take the camera off. I can just go down. We're good to go. So there you go. Stuart Rooney might have said something, I'm not sure. I'll say hello anyway. Hello Stuart, how are you? Video looks good. It does look good, yes. We've just covered that. David Pinner, Stuart has said hello now. Click the like, guys. Yes, definitely. Christine, hello Christine. Neil Graysmark, hello. Paul's in. Phil's here. Phil, welcome Phil. Steiner Wallaker, love that name. Wallaker. Salty potatoes, is that a question I see? I was wondering if there are any South American dwarf cichlids that would go well in a 20-gallon long, 75 litre, with green neon tetras and corridoras. Now there's a question. Are there any South American dwarf cichlids that would go well in a 20-gallon long, 75 litre? I'll have a think about that. Let's just catch up, shall we? Brought 30 XL tetras and 20 runny nose tetras. Rummy nose tetras, I imagine? Yes, as you said in the next one. Andy Morrison, me witchy ways. Could I ask what do you have in your fishy first aid kit and what medications? Yep, you can ask. That's a good topic, we'll cover that. So, and as usual, I kind of got an outline of a thread of a tangent of a plan that we might talk about tonight. Last week we had death by poll, so I'm going to limit that a little bit. But last week we picked the fish that we're going to keep in the subscriber tank, and if you missed that, go back and watch that, or not, I'll just tell you. The Congo Tetra won, so that is the fish that we're going to base the aquarium around. And I just so happen to have a whole bunch of Congo Tetras that I've just got in, so that worked out quite well. Completely natural, I didn't force it or anything. So we're going to do that. This week we're going to pick what kind of tank with a much reduced pull, so that'll only take a few minutes hopefully, and then that can get us started with that little project. But so we've got that coming up. We've got some mega tank talk and some waterproofing of mega tank talk. We've got some, oh my god, how much does everything cost these days talk. And any questions you've got. So we've got South American dwarf cichlids. So I've written down chichlids. It's catching. And we've got medical first aid. So I hope I can remember to read my own writing when I come back to that stage. And do you have any battery backup generators or battery backups in place for the fish room? I do not. I do have... Sorry, I'm picking out skelfs out my fingers. So I've been down working on Megatank this evening. I do have like battery backup air pumps. So I've got a bunch of air pumps, the Nicrew air pumps that run on battery, and they run for a good day or so. I have got an old bunch of UPSs, which are computery things, server room things, where you'll have, it's called an uninterruptible power supply, but it's basically a big massive battery. I do have a couple of them that could run things if I ever got around to setting them up, but at the moment I don't even know where they are. They may still be in storage, who knows. That was a project that was always one of those things where I go, one day I will set up those UPSs so as my fish room will run on it. But no, as yet I don't. I do keep thinking about buying a generator, just not necessarily just for the fish room, but it would be useful to have for the fish room. I've got some electricians coming out on Monday to kind of do some testing in my house. If you're new here, I like to mention this every week as well, it seems. I'm fairly new to this house. I've only moved in, it's got to be 4 or 5 months ago now. But the electrics aren't quite right, so that work starts next week, where they'll do some testing, and depending on the outcome of that might be how seriously I kick my arse into gear about setting up some generators or battery backups and that kind of thing. But so far, touch wood, I've not had too many electrical problems. Right, where do we go? Oh, and as Courtney says, I mean, this won't make sense there because I've clicked that and it's just expressed them as text. But if you join as a member, there are two options. You can join as a member and get access to some extra emojis, which you can see in actual chat rather than the chat I put on screen. And I think we only need a couple more members to unlock a new emoji, so we might have to have a, what new emoji should we have? Vote or poll. But you also, if you join as a hero member, that gets you access to 10% off anything at aquariumadventures.co.uk, whether that be food, merch, all those kind of things. How's the shoulder? The shoulder has been replaced by an elbow. Shoulders, pretty much, I mean, I can still feel them every now and again, and they hurt, but the elbow, that's bleeding killing me at the moment. So at least it's moving down. Next week will be the wrist and then the fingers. But yeah, shoulders aren't too bad. I've been able to get back to work in the fish room and do lots of things. And it's not, I mean, I can still feel it, because it still hurts, but not constantly. And anytime I move my arms, at least, it's just, oh, that's a bit of an ache. Oh, that hurts a little bit every now and again, rather than, my shoulder. Oh, that was a noise. There you go. Danny Boy 1587 has become a member. As it says right there. Thank you, Danny Boy. Welcome. So yeah, that's not too bad. I also did some hedge cutting today, and that made my shoulder ache a little bit, but other than that, yeah, it's fine. Hello, Danny Boy. David Pinner says, have you recovered from the floods? We're getting there, let's put it that way. There's still a sizable puddle in my fish room. So, if you're not in the UK, if you're in the UK, you'll know that we've been plagued by storms recently, whether it's been, I forget, they all had ridiculous names, didn't they? Storm Eunice, Storm Dougal, Storm Arseface, I don't know what they were called, but there was like 3 in a row that dumped a year's worth of rain on my house. But basically, above my house, there's the Wadsley Commons, which is basically a big open common, like parkland, and it's at the top of the hill. and there was that much rain that it just obviously flooded the water table because it was just streaming down the hills. I was going to, like, taking the kids to school and stuff, and you could go down some roads and the drains were just so overflowing they were actually shooting water out, so there was nothing quite that bad. But the rivers burst their banks. The River Don flows through here, that burst its banks. Local parks all flooded, some people's houses flooded, so I never had anything like that. But even after the rain stopped, there was like a small stream coming through the garden, which then disappeared at one point and then reappeared at the front of my garage, and then out down the driveway and back onto the street and away. But it was basically pushing up through the concrete floor, which was somewhat annoying and concerning, but it never got too bad. But you know that way when there's water where there shouldn't be water, you're always a little bit concerned. You're a little bit like, what's going on there? But yes, the floods seem to be subsiding. They're going away, and the smaller puddles in the fish room. I'm kind of both congratulating and kicking myself for kind of sealing in the fish room, because you saw that video I made where I sealed in the floor to make sure that wouldn't cause a problem if I accidentally flooded it by overflowing tanks or whatever. That meant the water had nowhere to go, so I was kind of having to go, idiot, why did I do this? But yeah, much better. Where did we get to? Dawn's joined us as well. Would really recommend taking a visit to see Steve and the lads at Premier Aquatics in Runcorn. A video would be great. George Farmer did a good one a few weeks back. Yeah, I saw George. They did some kind of giveaway which caused controversy. Storm in a teacup there. Tam and Bell sell. Hello, Tam and Bell. What are you selling? What are you looking for the glass for the monster tank? So, I'm struggling to find anything that offers something thick enough. Yeah, that's my week has been concerned with what am I doing for a window for Mega Tank. So, if you haven't seen it, I'm building a fairly large tank in my fish room. It's going to be 8 foot long by 4 feet wide. And I want the window, the front pane of the tank, so it's wooden, but it's going to have an opening, a window. So I want that to be as big as possible, so I'm thinking kind of 7 foot by 2.5 foot, something along those lines. And I've been looking at, because it's wood, I can make it as big or as small as I want. I could split it into two, I could make it shorter, I could bring the sides in a little bit. I want to keep it as big as possible. So I've been talking to glazers, just general glass manufacturers, aquarium builders, so like Fit Filtration, for instance. They're a aquarium manufacturer. They built my big display tank, pardon me, and koi pond window specialists, and just the prices, I was a bit like, no, I only want one, why are you quoting me £1 bazillion? So the problem is thickness. The problem is the thickness of the glass I need for a panel that size is quite thick. So talking to the aquarium manufacturers, as long as I brace the tank, they think I can get away with 15mm glass, but would recommend 19mm. So I've been kind of looking around about the 19mm sizes, and they quoted me something like £850 for 19mm for a 7 foot by 2.5 foot window. And I was a bit like, £850? No, I only want one. I'm not building the whole aquarium out of glass. And it's glass, not platinum, not diamonds. But yeah, that's the price. And they've got the whole sob story of, everything's going up in price these days. Glass has doubled in price in the last year. But I was looking on some other glass calculator sites, so koi pond windows, for instance. So I think it was Cotswold Koi, was it? Something like that. So there's seemingly a go-to site that anybody that's building a koi pond with a window in will go to that, and they have it's laminated glass. It's basically two 10mm sheets glued together to make a 20mm sheet, or 21mm sheet, I think they call it, with the layer in between, which is fine. I mean, there are drawbacks to that, in that over time that can apparently bubble and discolour in between and cause problems that way. But if it's good enough for a koi pond, and some of the ones I've seen looks good enough to me, I think that would do the job. And that was coming out about 400 quid. I was, well, okay then, that's we're getting there. So I was saying to the aquarium manufacturer, oh well, what about laminated glass? I've seen these, and it's coming out at more than half the price than the 850. And they go, oh yeah, well that's laminated glass. We can do that as well. We can do that for 650. I'm like, that's still 250 quid more than they can do it. And I'm just getting weird, crazy prices. So I went to another glass manufacturer. I want a bit of glass, I want it this size, I want it this thickness, and they came back again saying, oh yep, that's fine. I think they came back at like 810, 12 pounds, something like that. And I thought, oh, right, okay, so that's a lot. Oh, unless you want it see-through. And I was a bit like, unless I want it, what? So it turned out they had like some kind of offer on smoky glass, and they could do me smoky glass for, I think, 600 quid. I was like, no, I kind of definitely do want to see. I put in the email, I'm making an aquarium. I'd kind of like to be able to see into it. And then I've had other ideas, looking at like glass dining room tables and taking the glass off that, but I just can't find any that have got thick enough glass, because they tend to be around the 10 to 12mm. So I'm still not sure. I'm still looking. I'm still thinking, will I split it in two and put like a centre brace in the front and get two smaller bits? Because then I could essentially just buy an old second-hand aquarium, even a busted aquarium, and use a couple of the panels that way. It just wouldn't be quite as good and quite as... It's not quite what I'm after, but I might have to make some compromises. I'm not paying 800 quid for a bit of glass, but 400, that's getting more kind of where I thought I was going to get to. Chat with the Koi Whisperer, his new koi pond with glass looks amazing. Yeah, so I think that's where he got his as well. I've watched a few of his videos. Most koi places use the laminated glass, and that will probably work fine, so that might be what I'll go with. Everyone keeps pointing me to the Koi Whisperer. I've had a few comments about... So one of the things in my last video I was talking about was how am I going to waterproof this, and talking about the discussions I've had with the people at Liquid Rubber and whether or not to fiberglass. And there must have been half a dozen comments saying, oh, you've got to fiberglass it. Fiberglass is the way. Why don't you just fiberglass the whole thing? Don't worry about anything else. Watch this video by James the Koi Whisperer. And it's an hour-long video of him getting someone in to fiberglass his pond, and the two of them every 10 minutes saying, you should definitely not fiberglass this by yourself. This is not a DIY job. Yeah, every comment they sent me there was, fiberglass is easy. Just go and do this. So I'm a bit like, that doesn't make sense. Why are you telling me it's so easy by showing me a video telling me how hard it is? And I don't think it is particularly hard, but it doesn't really solve the problem or address the issue that I'm thinking about. I was only ever planning to fiberglass the seams, because that's generally what you do with a wooden plywood aquarium. And that I had talked about, I might not need to do that because the Liquid Rubber has their own liquid beam or bead thing, which is basically a mega sticky thick tape that you put down over your seams. Seam tape, that's what it's called. And then you Liquid Rubber on top of that. So I'd get to skip the fiberglassing stage, which is, yeah, that'd be great. That'd save me a few pennies. Fiberglassing it's not hugely expensive, but it's not hugely cheap either. And a few people suggest, no, why don't you just fiberglass the whole thing, and then you don't need to worry about it. If I fiberglass it, I still need to cover it with something like Liquid Rubber. So why would I fiberglass it and cover it with Liquid Rubber? Still lots of working out to do, and as I said in all my videos, I am very much still working this out. I don't know all the answers. I guarantee I will make mistakes. So I do appreciate all the advice and all the guidance, but I can't follow all the advice, because I'm having every video I put out, I get 10 people commenting completely different things, saying you should do this, you should do that, you should do the other, you should do. So I can't make everyone happy. I can only follow one piece of advice, and I'm kind of thinking I have a general plan of what way I want to go with things, and we'll try it. And if it's wrong, we'll fix it. And if that's wrong, we'll fix that, and we'll get there eventually. But I do appreciate the suggestions and the comments, because it does give me ideas, and I do read almost every comment. I do read it, and it is useful, but it's physically impossible to follow every single comment, because some of them are so opposite directions, it's not true. So that's where I'm going with that. Could Steve Premier Aquatics not cut you a pane? Well, he probably could, but that's effectively what I've done, is gone to my Sheffield version of Premier Aquatics and said, I want a big pane of glass. And they've said, yeah, 850 quid. So I'll need to go to a few different places to get different prices, but effectively that is all I need, just someone to cut me a pane of glass to a certain size that isn't 850 quid. So if I go with the koi versions, that takes it down by half. That's about 400 quid. That does give me another problem, in that I'm doing this all on my own. It's just me here. Yes, I have a wife and some kids, but none of them can help me lift massively heavy panes of glass. So I need to arrange for people and things to be here to be able to unload it and get it in. It's all quite the logistical challenge. Where do we get to? There you go. Give you a wee shout out. Tam and Bell sell. They have an eBay shop that sells a variety of things. There you go. If you want a variety of things, go and check out Tam and Bell. My bad influence talking about these tanks. Oh, see, this is the idea is I get to do it, so you don't have to. And then I'll make all the mistakes, and you can avoid the mistakes. And you get to, when you want to do it, you can either do it on a smaller scale or on a bigger scale. But I've proved to you it will or it won't work. And we can't lie. It's good for the YouTube algorithm. Me standing in front of a pool of water, going, "Oh no, I've made a massive mistake." That's going to be a great video. Don't want it to happen, mind you, but hey, every cloud has a silver lining. We've got a bit of a question there. Jordan Horton says, Hello, Jordan. I have a Joe Rio 350 planted tank which is currently housing rainbow fish. I'm looking at changing their habits to discus. What is the minimum number of discus I could add safely? I like to say 6. A 350 litre tank, you can get a lot more than 6, but I wouldn't get fewer. And the reason I say that is some people say 5, some people say 6, some people say 4. No, nobody says 4 really. Some people say 5. I've been down to 5 before and they've not been happy. So it's just purely personal preference. At 6, they were a bit happier. They are a social fish. They feel more comfortable in larger groups. You eliminate a whole raft of problems if you start with a larger group. They just don't, they hide, they come out, they get stressed, they get ill because they get stressed, they fight because they're ill, they fight because they're stressed. If you get a bigger group to start with, you just don't run into any of those problems. So I would look at least 6, but you could probably easily get double that if you wanted to in that tank. Hope that helps. Where do we get to? The fiberglass would give extra stability to the edges. It would. I mean, there's no denying that. But where do you stop? How much stability do I need? That's kind of where I'm at. So, yeah, it's all about, well, just because everyone else is fiberglass doesn't mean I have to. But equally, just because everyone else is fiberglass, why wouldn't I fiberglass it? You have to think about the reasons why these people are doing that, and fiberglass is an excellent idea. And the general perceived wisdom is that you fiberglass over the seams, so it just stiffens it up and prevents a bit of movement a little bit. But from talking to the liquid rubber guy, their seam tape stuff, that does the same job. It eliminates movement being a problem, so it doesn't necessarily lock it in and keep it solid, but it provides a barrier and it allows for some flexibility, so it will let a little bit of movement without bursting, whereas fiberglass will just crack if you get a problem. But that's not to say fiberglassing's wrong. It definitely works. But it's just that fiberglass alone isn't the answer, because if I use fiberglass, I still have to do something else on top of it. Impermax is the way I'm going to do it in mine wood tank. Impermax is not a name I recognise, so I'm going to write that down. Somebody else told me, I got a comment earlier about, oh, you want to use Rhino Guard or Rhino Tape. And it's the stuff they use in pickup truck bed liners in the old US of A, and you just can't get it here. So I shall look into Impermax and see what that is. Steve Edwards, hope you're doing well. Any African cichlids yet? No, not yet. That is something that is in. I do have plans for that, but I have lots of plans for lots of things, so we need to get through some of them first. My missus has just said, can't you use a pond liner? I can't stop laughing. Hey, David, she's not wrong. He definitely can use a pond liner. That is something I have been considering. And it's people do that. It's the same as if it's a koi pond. You have an option of concreting it, block and mason? Block and mason? That's not what I wanted to say. What did I want to say? Block and mortar? I don't know. I think I might be having a stroke. Bricks, sleepers, whatever it might be, you can fiberglass it, you can use pond liner, you can use liquid rubber and pond armour. These are all options, and I definitely did think about using liner at some point, purely so I could reuse the wood later. You can tell I'm Scottish. Thinking that if I don't have to destroy the wood by slathering it with fiberglass or with pond liner or pond armour or liquid rubber, if I break that down and then want to use it for another project, I can reuse the wood. But if I cover up all that, I can't do that. So I did consider pond liner for quite a while. I was considering, because you can get box welded pond liners where you can go to a company with the exact dimensions of the thing you're trying to fill, and they'll build you a box welded shaped pond liner, and there's no overlaps or any of that kind of stuff. So that would have been a really good idea. I just wanted to go that extra mile. So in a couple of weeks' time, when you see my next video, hello, welcome back to the channel, I've given up and we're using a pond liner. That might be where this is going. Yeah, geography might be a bit off. I mean, Runcorn's not a million miles away. It's not close, but you know. Oh, there we go. That's an offer. I'd help lift anything. I'm going to hold you to that. Get in contact with a public aquarium and see if they have any second-hand ones you could buy. That's not a bad shout, I suppose. I've also been looking at acrylic. Had a few comments of that. Why don't you go acrylic? It's not that much cheaper. If anything, it's more expensive, and it gives you a whole bunch of different problems where you have to find new ways to attach it, because it won't bond with silicone properly and all that kind of thing. So I mean, I didn't spend long looking into the acrylic stuff, but I got a couple of quotes and they were more than the glass, so I thought, nope, not interested. How would you handle Discus getting bullied? I've lost 2 Discus because I'm not eating and losing a third. I feed well around the tank to give him a chance, and he doesn't even go for food. I've also treated for internal parasites and bacterial infections. So, in general, my anti-bullying advice is have a stern talking to it. No, is to get more Discus. So you've kind of got 2 options to deal with bullying. It's either spread the aggression, so as the aggression doesn't have as much chance to do damage to the fish, but if it's already happening, you're kind of past that. It's more about trying to save the bullied fish, because if it's got to the point where it's getting ill because of the bullying, You should definitely still try and stop the bullying, but it's kind of already done the damage if it's suffering. But adding more to spread the aggression, or dicking around with the tank, so adding more decorations to the tank, changing the layout within it, because that sometimes can be a territorial thing where a fish will say, "This is my gaff, why do you keep coming in here? I'm going to give you, stick the heat in you." Whereas if you go in and move things around, they all have to start again and establish their own territories, and sometimes that can help sort out aggression issues, as well as sightlines. So if a fish has more places to hide or to out the way of another fish, which might be the bully of the tank, you put in some big bits of wood, some big tall plants, that can kind of break up the sightlines and stop them chasing each other and going for it. So that's kind of my go-to things. How difficult is it to maintain multiple tanks, cleaning, feeding, etc., and does it take a large portion of your daily time to do? It doesn't. It takes me... So every now and again I'll spend a day in there. So every now and again, every couple of months, it might be, right, Sunday is going to be aquarium day, and I go down to the fish room and I give everything a proper deep clean, check out things. Like a proper session. But when things are running, so things are still getting established at the moment, so I'm in there quite a lot, spending a lot of time on it. But once things are running properly, it's literally feeding. In my old fish room, and I intend to get there to this one as well, the water changes were automatic, so they were taken care of. So it was just a case of feeding. So you go down, check out all the fish, spend a bit of time with them, and feed. I also used automatic feeders quite a lot, so I didn't have to do that. So some days I wouldn't go into the fish room at all. But I have a fish room because I like messing about with fish, so I like spending time in there, so it doesn't seem like a chore too much. At the moment, it is a bit of a chore because everything's trying to build everything and get everything working. I'm not happy with my current solution for getting water out of the fish room, so I'm trying to think of something that I can do with that. I'm also building a mega tank, so I'm in there spending a lot of time humping stuff around. But in general, it's fairly straightforward. It's kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, almost routine, where you give it, I don't know, it might be 10 minutes after dinner. If I cook dinner, the kids and the wife will put the plates away or whatever, and I'll go down to the fish room for 10 minutes, feed everything, make sure everything's okay, and that can be it. So that's my kind of minimum. I'm back up and I can laze around. But I'm kind of the mental state where I like to go down there and fettle and mess around with things, so I might spend an hour down there. I don't need to, but so if time's tight, it is literally in, feed everything, everything's still alive, none of the tanks are overheating, out, job done. Yeah, so as Urban Hafner has saying there, once the tanks are well established, that's the key to it as well. Also because I've got a lot of new fish at the moment, I'm down there quite a lot and doing extra water changes and making sure of water parameters and things like that. But yeah, once they're all established, it's not much. It kind of runs itself off. That's what I aim for in a fish room, is that it will run itself and I can mess around extra. Yeah, because Courtney's saying as well, it's all about routine. That's the word I was looking for. I'm still fairly new to fish keeping and was chasing fry around the tank to stop them getting eaten. Is this a normal thing to do, or you let them take their chances? I must admit, I let them take their chances these days. If I was trying to do some kind of proper breeding program, then yes, I might be separating fry and putting them into their own tanks and all that kind of stuff. But at the moment, yeah, things are breeding and they're doing the thing. I'm leaving them to it. Right, we're going to do a bit of a giveaway. I still haven't posted them with the last giveaways, but I now have the envelopes that I'm going to do the giveaways in. So we're still on the key rings, which I've now lost. Ooh. There we go. If you want a cock ring, we'll do a bit of a giveaway. You can have this fantastic, look at that camera quality, that is good, isn't it? Should have done this ages ago. I like that lens. That's what you get with a prime lens. So if you want a key ring and you haven't got one already, if you have one already and you haven't got it yet, it will be with you early next week. Even you, John Sharp, if you are here somewhere with your sending me, I won a key ring last week, like a week later. Even you will get a key ring. So if you want a key ring, all you have to do is, what shall we do? No, not that. Ignore that. Go away. Get. It's a pen. We don't have pens, we have key rings anyway. So it's a pen. That kind of works. I pressed the wrong button. Apologies. We will go to here. How many people have we got in tonight? We have currently got 65 people. So I'm going to make you do a random number between 0 and 40. And why is that not working? There are no users eligible to win. Why not? You'd think I'd never done this before. I mean, we only do it every week. Right, random number thing isn't working. Stop typing numbers. Stop typing numbers. We're going to do a keyword instead. Let's go on little face. If you can see that, if you want a key ring, you have to do several things. One, be a person that lives in the world. Be a subscriber. Have clicked like. I think that's everyone that's... Yeah, be a person, want a key ring, be willing to tell me where you live. There, that's it. And type in the word cock ring into the chat. That's all you have to do. Cock ring. In fact, let's change that. Because I've used the rude version of cock ring. K-O-K-R-I-N-G. 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 So while you're doing that, I'm going to set up the next part of the evening, which is going to be this. I'm going to have to move myself out of the way, aren't I? We're having technical difficulties, people. Hang on a second. And that should do that. There we go. So we've got bracket fights are back again, but a lot fewer options this week. So what we're going to do is, like I say, we picked Congo tetras as the fish that we're going to keep in the subscriber tank. If this is your first time here, the subscriber tank is a chance for us to be a little bit interactive, where you pick a fish, I set up a tank all about that fish, and we learn about it together. I learn about it, do some research, we learn how to make the tank, do the tank setup, what other fish could live with the fish, all that kind of stuff. And we make a series of videos all about them, and hopefully everyone gets a little something from it. So last week we picked the fish that we're going to base the tank around, so it was the Congo tetra that won. So we're going to make a tank focused on a Congo tetra. So the next things we want to check are, what type of tank are we going to set up? And then maybe next week or a following week will be what else do we keep in with the Congo tetras. So this week we're going to choose what type of tank. If that makes sense. And we shall do that with a series of polls, but a very short series. Right, so we've got 25 eligible users. I'll give you another minute or two, and then we'll pick a couple of keyring winners, and we'll get them out to you. So in terms of design, let's go back on big face. We have actual cock ring. We've got this sucks, and other ones I can not find at the moment. Then we've got the classic Aquarium Adventures. I think there's a This Blows one as well, but I can't find that at the moment. But we do have some of them. So when you win, send me an email to tell me where to send the thing. You can say, I want a cock ring one, or I want a this sucks one, or I want a discus one. And I will try to oblige. Right, I think we've got enough now. We've got 25. It's not gone up much. Let's go back to Littleface. Are we ready? 3. No, we can do drum roll. That's what we can do. Aaron Mock. Congratulations. You have won a keyring. Do another one. Danny Boy 1587. You have won a keyring. And last but not least, Craig Thompson. Right, well done you three. You've all won a keyring. Send me an email, graham@aquariumadventures.co.uk, which one of my super duper one of my super duper mods will be putting into the chat right now, hopefully. And I'll send it to you within 6 to 8 business weeks. So, subscriber tank setup. If you are asking any questions in the meantime, I will come back to them, don't you worry. So, congrats Craig Thompson and Danny Boy and Aaron. Well done, everyone. Right, so I need to find the other chat, don't I? That's how this works. Right, let's pop that out and put that over there, and then we'll go back to there. So what we've got is a series of tanks. We have a high-tech planted tank, a low-tech planted tank, a biotope, a biotype, a themed tank, a novelty tank, or artificial tank, I guess, bare bottom, and one other one I can't remember. Blackwater, is it possibly? Yes, I think so. So the pictures aren't helping me here because this is a bit of a nonsense. Because this is the Blackwater one. I meant that to be the Biotope. Did I? I can't remember. Right. Yes, this is Blackwater. So what we've got in front of us is we have themed. So we're going to do themed versus Blackwater as round one of this thing. Themed doesn't. This is Star Wars, obviously. It's classed as. It's. I've picked a picture of a Star Wars tank. It could be anything. It could be a Lego tank. It could be, I don't know, a certain country or a game or a film or it's anything along those lines. The tank has a theme that's not necessarily something that's just natural, and we try and make so whatever one of these is, we try and make it as cool as possible. So if it's a theme tank, we try and make the ultimate theme tank. If it's a Blackwater tank, we make the ultimate Blackwater tank. So apply that thinking, that critical thinking, to every choice that we make. So even if you don't like Blackwater tanks, but you quite like theme tanks, maybe it'd be better to see the ultimate Blackwater tank, or make the blackest of Blackwater. I don't know, you know what I mean. So we're going to try and do it as good as possible. So to that end, we're going to set up a poll. So in a second, what we'll do, question 1 will be themed versus Blackwater. So I've explained themes there. I'll ask them there. You should see that pop up in chat any second now. Themed is any theme at all. We're not picking the theme here. We're just the type of aquarium. Blackwater, that's a little bit more self-explanatory. A Blackwater aquarium is generally something that has lots of wood, very heavy tanned soaked water, lots of leaf litter, lots of botanicals in the water, and it just gives that darker, gloomier, it's a very dramatic type of aquarium, I think. I don't think I've ever done one on purpose. I have had a tank which had a lot of bogwood in it, which did release a lot of tannins and made it look quite dark, but that wasn't on purpose, whereas this time we'd be doing it on purpose. So let us know what you think. I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. So themed, which is more of your novelty type thing, versus Blackwater. What would you like to see? And remember, Congo Tetras is the one that we're going for here. It doesn't have to be SpongeBob, as Simon says. Yes, and if you did win a keyring, that's the email address there, graham@aquariumadventures.co.uk. So, how many have we got here? We've got 31 votes. It's kind of running away with the Blackwater. So if you are invested in a themed version, and remember, themed could be cool too. It doesn't necessarily have to be Star Wars. I just picked that as a potential. But I think there's no coming back from that. It's a good point from Courtney there. At Congos, I feel they would stand out more in a brighter tank. I don't know, if I'm completely honest. Initially, your brain makes you think that, doesn't it? But the more I think about it, the more I think they might look quite cool in a Blackwater tank. Because they have that iridescence, and that iridescence should shine through in a darker tank. I don't know. Yeah, Avatar, that's another. So, yeah, it could be any film. It could be a Die Hard tank. Right, I think we're going to have to call that one. Blackwater is definitely running away with it, so we'll choose Blackwater. That's our first quarter finalist. So, this one, so that was... What one there? Blackwater is through. And themed is not through. So this time we're going... This is Biotope versus Biotype. No, it's not. I'll start that again. This is Biotope on the left versus Artificial. So, again, pictures haven't helped me here. I think we've had a super chat there. I've just seen Steiner Wallaker with the 50 knocks. Was that the Kronas again? I can't remember. Thank you very much. Mega Tank and 2,000 Congos in there. Hey, you never know. That's maybe. I'm also worried about Mega Tank, what with the ongoing Russian-Ukrainian situation, that I might have to go with cold water fish because I don't think I'll be able to afford to heat it. So this is Biotope versus Artificial. So Artificial, that's more leaning towards decorations, silk plants, all that kind of stuff. So Biotope Fishy. Go. That is as much as I like to describe a submarine tank, it's got to be Blackwater for me. Yeah. Well, it has black. Once you have Blackwater, you don't go backwater. I don't know what that means. Fallout Wastelands. Well, yeah. Well, you should have voted for the theme tank, or maybe we'll do all these things at one point in the future anyway. I don't know. So at the moment, we're now going to look at Biotope versus Artificial. So Artificial gives you more options here again, whereas it can be anything. It can be the coolest of ornaments. It can be some homemade ornaments, maybe some homemade backgrounds, or even like rock structures, things like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be Clown, Puke, Gravel and SpongeBob SquarePants castle thing, pineapple. So think outside the box when you're considering Artificial. Biotope is, we have to look at where the Congo Tetras come from and try and match that as closely as possible in terms of substrate, decoration, planting, setup in general. So if something came from a very fast flowing river, we'd make it a fast flowing tank. If there was lots of plants in there, we'd put in lots of plants. If only one type of plant, you have to find that exact type of plant. We will do biotypes later. So we learned last week, biotopes is exactly where they come from. Biotype is roughly where they come from. I'm paraphrasing, but that's where we're going for. So Biotope versus Artificial. I'll give you a couple of seconds more to dwell on that, but it's kind of looking like a landslide for Biotope, I must say. Once you go Blackwater, you never go backwater. New t-shirt idea? No, you never know. That'd be quite a good one. I'm sure that's offensive to somebody, but I'm not sure who. Disappointed, a Braveheart tank with a wee Mel Gibson was spectacular. Yeah, see, we've missed out on all these possibilities. If you want to discuss any of these further, jump on the Discord server afterwards, and you can make your case. And I'm sure I'd have plenty of tanks and plenty of space to do all these things anyway. A Minecraft fish tank. Yeah, there's an idea. Right, I'm going to call that because that's 91% Biotope. So we'll click Biotope goes through. Next we have we're doing it this way. So Blackwater versus Biotope. Right, here we go. Blackwater versus Biotope. So, we talked about them before. Blackwater, yes, darker, but I think purely because the Congo tetras are so iridescent, I think that will be like little sparkles, little shiny things that will pop through on a Blackwater tank. But ultimately, it is a darker tank. It is going to be harder to see things in there. But I think they look very natural. So even though they might not necessarily be Biotope, they do look a lot more natural because there's a lot more leaf litter and debris and botanicals in there. Biotope, especially with Congo tetras, I think that's going to be quite difficult and quite limiting as well. We might not be able to get many plants. We might be limited on our choices of tank mates. So with a Biotope, I haven't done all that much research into where Congo. I was going to say where Congo tetras come from. It's kind of in the name, but I haven't done that much research into the actual rivers and parameters from where they're collected and to know what those options are. So we're taking a bit of a gamble with either of these, really. So basically what we're saying, Simon's a big grump and he doesn't like anything fun. Mark says, I'm doing the same thing with a Lake Tanganyika 700 litre tank. The whole thing's a minefield. I can imagine. I mean, especially as I'm on Tinterwebs, the internet is awash with people who are just desperate for someone to post a picture of their Biotope so they can go, that's not right. That don't come from there, you moron. So, that'll be fun when that comes round. Missed out on the Shrek theme tank. That could have been it, yeah. I might have to do that anyway. I don't know. What do you think? Alright, I think Biotope's taking it. So going into the final, Biotope it is. So what are we going to have it playing against? Right, so this is going to be... So I know this is a ridiculous thing here. This is Bare Bottom Tank versus Biotype, which you can clearly see from the pictures. 1, 2, 3, so this must be 4. Bare Bottom Biotype. So Bare Bottom, fairly self-explanatory. We are concentrating on the fish. What do we want to see in the fish? We have nothing else in there. It's all about growing the fish, seeing the fish, keeping the fish clean, easy maintenance, easy everything, nothing in there but the fish. Biotype is more the feel of an African tank. It's going to be plants that can be found in and around the region that this fish is collected. It might be, oh well, typically it's a mud riverbed that they come from, but we've gone with sand, or slightly different types of stones and things like that, or slight African fish rather than just Congo fish to go with it. So I feel that Biotype's a little bit more achievable than Biotope, but I also feel it's a little bit of a cop-out. So there's less of a challenge there, but it might be more rewarding because it has more options. So, bare bum, Biotype. Bare bum, Biotype. Yes, most of them I've met. A Biotype with a rainbow coloured substrate, that might be a little bit of a push. How did I like the Brewdog Lost Lager? It's one of my favourites. It's a close second to my Hop House 13, so no doubt Brewdog will go out of business any time now, because as soon as I like something it flops massively. Right, we've definitely got a winner there. It's Biotype, 90%. So Biotype goes through. Right, this one is... So this is for the planted tank purists. This is high-tech versus low-tech planted tank. So what are we on now? Question 5. High-tech, low-tech. So this doesn't make any assumptions about locations or types of plants or anything like that. It's purely about high-tech versus low-tech. So high-tech is highlighting CO2, macro and micro ferts and dosing. Low-tech is just the lights you have on the tank and some easy plants to grow. High-tech can take some much more demanding plants and we can get them to grow in there. Low-tech is you can put in more demanding tanks and you can still dose fertilizers and things like that, but you're just not using like the ultra bright lights. You're not using the ultra demanding plants. You're not dosing CO2 or anything like that. So high-tech versus low-tech. And I don't want to sway the vote either way. I have CO2 and all the equipment to run CO2. I have the macro and micro ferts. We could do proper dosing and all that. That would be the interesting part of this, is learning how to do ferts properly. Low-tech would be how good can we get it without spending loads on lights and CO2 and all that kind of stuff. So I think there's a legitimate interest in both of these things. And it's quite close. A bit of a cop out if you get Biotype. You've got a whole world of easy growers from Africa. Well, these are the decisions we have to make, don't we? Brewdog released a bunch of their recipes for free. My brother and I have a home brew. That might be dangerous. I'm not sure if I can stand another hobby. Earlier you mentioned I should get more Discus to discourage bullying, however, bought from the man who thinks the Amazon River... Oh, right, yes, I know the man. Unsure if I should buy from him again. The difficult position to put in there. So I don't want to put you off buying from that supplier again. If you want to, if you feel your experience was good, that's fine. I think there might be some problems, but it can't all be bad. The advice I would give you would be, if you decide you don't want to buy from that particular supplier again, he sells Asian Discus. Plenty of other suppliers sell Asian Discus and are extremely reputable. You'll just have to do a bit of quarantining before you mix them together, and take advice from your new seller about how to approach that, because some of them will have different advice, but generally they will likely suggest the sacrificial lamb method, where you have another tank, put your new discus in there, and then you mix one from each batch in another tank, give it 3-4 days, see if you get any cross-contamination issues. If you don't, you're good to go. If you do, you know you need to treat it, and you know you haven't wasted your whole investment. Biotype and low tech, easy as pie. Well, there's nothing wrong with easy. Easy can be good too. And let's say Biotype wins. We can refine that later. We'll do that within Discord rather than coming on to doing another poll. But let's say Biotype wins. We can refine those parameters and say, oh, let's do Biotype with high tech, or let's do it with low tech, or let's do it with whatever people want to see. So I want people to get something out of this. So I'm going to get something out of this, whatever it is, because most of these things I haven't done to the best of my abilities. So we'll try and make it as good as we can possibly make it, whatever it is that we do, and the people watching can learn how I managed to do those things, or if I fail miserably, you can see what not to do. That's where I'm going from. Right, I think low tech has won this one, so we'll end that poll. Low tech. No one liked the high tech. Oh no! Oh no! I pressed the wrong button. Uh-oh. Oh no. How do I get it back? Reset. Oh god, I'm gonna have to go through it again. Right. Blackwater. Biotype. Biotype? Yeah. Biotype. I know I've said Biotype several times. Low tech. Right, so this one is question 7. I don't know what number we're at anymore. This is Biotype, or Biotope, Type, versus low tech. So in all reality, it could be both. So we could have a biotype that is low tech. So think about that when you're answering it. If you want low tech, it's going to be a non-biotype of low tech. It'll just be any old plants. High tech, low budget. So there is, I think on Discord we've got a video ideas or something like that channel. If we've not, let's make one. That's a good idea. A high tech, low budget. That's got brilliant thumbnail written all over it. We could see how we could achieve that. That's a good idea. So that was James's idea there. Is it going to be sumped? I don't know. Maybe. Let's go with maybe. I feel this tank's going to deserve a fairly decent sized tank. Not sure whether we would sump it. But yeah, we might. Who knows? We should decide filtration next week. Yeah, maybe we'll do filtration in tank size or something like that next week. So I feel like if we go biotype or biotope in the end, that deserves a bit of a decent footprint, or a bit of bit of length, so as we can imitate a river, for instance, rather than a square cube. But I don't know, we'll see. The supplier is Corbin Discus, the breeder is Martin Ung. Jen's Discus is another Yep, so there's plenty of good recommendations I can give you for Discus. Corbin Discus, be quick, they're closing down. So you could get some deals. Silver Surfer would like to see a sump set up from scratch. Another good idea. Right, someone note down these ideas. Sump from scratch. You're giving me perfect titles as well. My how to do a sump video is quickly turning out to be my most popular video ever. Sump from scratch. What was the other one? I've already forgotten. High tech, low budget. These are great ideas. Keep them coming. I was looking at chains. I have 7 Discus at the moment in a 300 litre. Originally had 9. I might go for 5 more for a total of 12. Yep, that's a good number. You could definitely get there. Right, I think we'll call it for Biotope with 62%. So that gives us a final. I think we could have predicted this. Pardon me. Biotope versus Biotype. Type away. Type. That's the community. So Biotope versus Biotype. It's so we're going exact versus rough. I think that's the way to look at it. Or restrictive versus less restricted. I shall let you decide. Why is Corbin Discus closing? He's moving. He's selling up. He's moving to Scotland. So his house is sold, I believe. So I think he has some other plans of what he wants to be doing. So you can still get Martin Ung Discus in the UK. So I think Durham Discus is still going to be doing them. There's one other place, so I think maybe in Wales. I can't remember. Biotope is the one that's exact. Biotype is the one that's rough. Biotope is the one on the left. This one. Biotype is this one. So Biotope is the exact fish from the exact area that they're collected, the exact plants, other fish. You try and get rocks and wood that looks the same. You're trying to recreate as accurately as possible the natural environment of the Congo tetra. Biotype is just a little bit more loose, so that's this one. A little bit more. You're still trying to achieve a close representation of the natural habitat of the fish, but if you use a plant that's it's maybe, so in this case it's maybe from Africa, but it's not necessarily from the same part of the same river of Africa, that might be allowed. So you get a little bit more artistic license, let's say, in a biotype. Still waiting for the Discussing Discus series. Yeah, we should do that, shouldn't we? I'm going to write that one down as well. That just always reminds me. There used to be a Facebook group called Discus Revolution, and it was all about discus. It was run by this. Doesn't matter. And one of my friends joined it because he saw I was in this group, thinking it was a group discussing revolution. He thought I was some kind of freedom fighter. He was like, "What the hell is all this pish about fish?" So that just made me laugh. By any chance, do you know if Chen sells Asian discus? Yes, he does. I believe he does, but I never heard about him until... Well, he's like the biggest one in the UK, I think. Yeah, so Francis Hu runs Chen's Discus. You won't find any problems over there. He's a stand-up fella. I really like his attitude to things. Yeah, and he runs some good Facebook groups as well, which are usually quite helpful. Phil's really enjoying his stinker discus. Yeah, so you get your Asian discus, your stinker discus, or your wild types. That tends to be the three main categories. So as long as you stick within one category, it lessens your chance of problems. I wouldn't suggest mixing stinker and Asians or wilds and Asians. People do, and you can if you want to. It's just a little more involved and a little more riskier, for want of a better word. Right, oh god, it's close. Biotope's winning by 63% at the moment over Biotype. So again, Biotope's the more restrictive of the two, so it's more true to where the fish comes from. It'll be more of a challenge, and I think that's probably a good idea for this. But it might not be the prettiest tank. Let me just float that for now. But yeah, I've never done a Biotope before in my life. I've unwittingly done Biotypes when I think I've done Biotopes. But I've never done a Biotope. I've never done a proper Biotope, so we'll see how we get on with that one. As this is the final, we'll let this one run a little bit longer. And then after this, we'll move on to any questions from the floor. Why is that doing this? I'm just going to go back to my big face so I can read a message someone sent me. I'm selling something on Facebook Marketplace at the moment. It's the most infuriating thing in the world, selling anything on Facebook Marketplace. I'm selling a built-in double oven, and I've had two people come to collect it and go, "Oh, where's the hob?" I said, "No, it's a double oven. I thought it had a hob. Why would you think that?" 2 people. The title of the listing is Rangemaster Built-in Double Oven, £50, Sheffield, collection only. And maybe 90% of the messages I've had are, how much is it, where are you, and do you deliver? It's literally in the title. Sorry. So that's what that message was. Another moron trying to ask a stupid question about it. Sorry, I'm sorry. Right, let's little face. Do you have high or low water flow, or do you change it during the day, or does it depend on the setup or fish? If I understand the question correctly, I think it depends on the setup or the fish. So, for instance, my Discus display tank, when I had that running, that was a fairly high flow because they are a dirty fish and I wanted to keep it clean, so I'd be turning over the volume of the tank several times. Other tanks where I'm just running maybe one sponge filter in there, that's a fairly low flow, so we're not turning over the water many times at all. So horses for courses, that's what I'd say with that one. Get revising, says Mark. I think it's looking that way. Are we ready to call it? I think we are. So 35 votes, and the winner is Biotope. So there we go. Biotope is the winner. So now we know what we're doing a little bit more. We are going to be setting up a Congo tetra biotope. So, I think you're right there, Mark. I do need to do a bit of reading here. We need to find out, first and foremost, exactly where these fish are found and collected, because that could be wide and varied. So some fish are found in many countries, never mind many different water systems. So that might give us some options about what type. I don't think Congo tetras fall into that category, but you never know. I don't know much. And then we need to do a bit of research on that habitat and what we might find there. So does it have plants? Is it a hardscape that I'm going to be doing, or is it going to be a planted tank? What other fish are found in that same region that we might be able to have as companion fish? Or do we have to keep it as a species only tank? Then we've got to work out what we're going to do for tank itself and filtration. Is it going to be a long tank, a big tank, a tall tank? Are we going to be canisters, sumps, sponges? We can't really have a sponge filter in a biotype, can we? Don't find many sponge filters in rivers. Well, I don't know. Where do we draw the line there? That's a different one, isn't it? We don't find canister filters or sumps in the wild either, or the tubes coming into them. Are we allowed to draw a blind eye to some sponge filters, or would that be too disruptive? I don't know. So these are all questions we'll need to answer. If you want to contribute to the discussion, up there, Discord, join in. Tell us what you think, because I've got some thinking to do. I don't know not. Right. So congratulations, everyone. Thank you very much. This is going well. At least we're making some decisions, because this is the kind of thing I could sit and stare at some fish tanks for hours and still not actually come up with a decision. Our resident fish scientist will be here. Yes, where is our resident? That's our birthday today, I think, so that's probably why she's not here. Alex, sorry for the continuous question. That's quite alright. Questions make the live streams turn. Does size matter? No. So I'm told. Oh, right, there's more. Should you get Discus that is near identical size of what's already in the tank, or is plus or minus 1 inch okay? I have never found it to be a problem mixing juveniles and adults with several inches size difference. They generally... it's just not a thing. So size doesn't matter. If you wanted to start off with a whole bunch of new juveniles and grow them up, that should be fine. The only thing is, if you have adult fish and juveniles, they may grow at different rates, and the adults and juveniles both release hormones which can affect the other ones. So you might inhibit the growth of the juveniles in some cases. Not all cases, but I mean, that's only if you're growing showfish, that's going to be a problem. If you're not, then it's probably not going to be a problem. Is it worth having CO2 in 4 small 5-gallon tanks? Questionable. So it depends why you want CO2. If those 4 small 5-gallon tanks are growing your favourite plants, and that plant just won't grow without CO2, then yes, it's worth it. It's really about personal preference, and CO2 can come in all manner of setups. It doesn't necessarily have to be a high-tech CO2 setup. You can have... have I got any of them? So for my smaller tanks, like the office tank behind me here, not that you can see it because the microwave's in the way. The microwave? Microphone. I used to get cans of CO2 for that, and I'd have it into a bell, so you fills up the bell, and that slowly dissolves into the water over the day. So it's kind of as low tech as you get. You can even do like DIY CO2 with yeast and things like that. But yes, it's about why you want to do it. So don't be put off by the size of your tank. If your tank requires CO2 for you to get your maximum enjoyment out of it, it's definitely worth it. drill the bottom of the tank and have the filters pipe from below. Well, I do like drilling a tank, but, you know, I also like smashing tanks. But, yeah, that might be an option. I mean, I don't think that necessarily has to come into the biotype or biotope discussion, how I particularly filter it, because at the end of the day, they don't live in glass boxes in the wild, so we're already making one compromise. So as long as we limit the compromises we're making, I think we're kind of there. Happy birthday, Freshwater Ichthyology, if you're watching this back. Yes, indeed, happy birthday. Would you say a beta 6 Sterbai Cory and a bristlenose is okay stocking in a well-planted 60-litre long tank? A beta 6 Sterbai Cory and a bristlenose is okay stocking in a well-planted 60-litre yeah, I think so. I don't think that's too bad. 6 Sterbai Cory, that's a good number of Cory. Bristlenoses are happy enough living on their own. Beta Fishy is definitely happy enough living on their own. Yeah, I don't think that's a problem. Social discussing. Yeah. Day 16, baby Discus. Congratulations. My new Discus, my new juvenile Discus, they've started taking to laying, which is it's not a concern, but it's not planned. They shouldn't be doing it yet. And the only reason I'm concerned, if I am concerned, is that when Discus start laying, they usually stop growing, or they stop growing at a good rate. Let's put it that way. So luckily, nothing's come of it yet. They've done it twice in quick succession, and then nothing since. So I'm hoping they've got over that little spat. But yeah, day 16. So that's. What are we talking? Regulars, free swimmers? I do love the Discus. One of the things that fascinates me about Discus fish is the breeding, the raising and rearing of fry. It's quite it's a sight to behold if you ever get a chance to do it, or even watch some videos on it. It's fascinating stuff. Popty Ping, yeah, me microwave. I have CO2 using old fire extinguishers. Fire extinguishers, that's a perfectly good way to start using CO2. It might be a bit overkill for a bunch of really small tanks, but hey, CO2 is CO2. It doesn't really matter where it comes from. Paul, I saw we have Paul's question from last week we never got around to answering. So let's do both now, shall we, Paul? Oh, I've also got the questions from earlier that I never answered. So, Paul says, one of my Discus has never grown after the first couple of months. He's literally a quarter of the size of the rest. He was fine for 2 years, but has now stopped eating. I don't think he will last much longer. So, this is what we would call the Ronnie of the litter. So, with most batches of Discus, you get the Ronnie the runt. That's the fish that just doesn't grow. He's perfectly healthy in many cases. Will eat just as much as the rest of the fish, or seem to eat just as much as the rest of the fish. He just won't grow. I've had several. I've been in competitions where one of my fish turned out to be a runt, and a couple of other competitors who were trying to grow the fish, theirs turned out to be a runt as well. It just happens. You're not doing anything wrong. It just happens. It's almost like kind of law of the jungle, law of nature type of thing. So in some cases it is a fish that was outcompeted for feeding from the wiggler stage and the fry stage. It's a fish that just didn't get off to quite the right start. I'm trying to think of the word that I'm thinking of here. So they got a little bit of a knock at the early stages, which put them 1% behind, and then over time, as they've grown and grown and grown, that 1% has been 2%, been 3%, and they've always just been not able to catch up. We've had another super chat. Rants and Reviews, thank you for the excellent content for $5. Thank you very much, sir. I don't know about excellent content. But yeah, so your runts, they do generally not live quite as long because they've had that little knock at the start, but they've generally been quite healthy throughout the life that they've got. So if you've had him for 2 years, but he's now stopped eating, pardon me, I mean, I wouldn't give up on him. I'd keep an eye out. If any discus can stop eating for a myriad of reasons. So just because he's the runt, I mean, literally the quarter the size of the rest, that is quite extreme runtage. Tiny Tim, as you say, you're calling him. They're a little bit underdeveloped everywhere. They can be a little bit more prone to illnesses. They generally will last a little bit less than the rest of the fish, but they'll usually get there or thereabouts. But like I say, they're a little bit more prone to illnesses, so I don't know. I'd be looking out for all the usual things, looking for clamped fins, looking at their poop if you can see the poop, and making sure that that's nice and healthy. Looking at the condition of their skin and their fins, are they starting to get a little bit ragged? See if there is anything that might be indicative of something that could be treatable, and then you treat it and it continues being small but healthy. That's the way I would look at that. I forget what your other question was now. I shall come back to that. How did the Autism charity fundraiser do? We got our target. Let's put it that way. What was it called? Just Giving. I haven't looked in a couple of weeks, I must admit. Ah, yes. Let's go little face. There you go. We got 105% of our target. So this was all money raised from calendar sales and generous donations from you lot. So I did. Admittedly, it was an arbitrary target of £200. I set a target of £200, and we got there, and a little bit more. So thank you, everyone. Still open if you want to. You can still donate. I shall put a link in discussion into chat. So yeah, it's pretty good. I'm happy with that. We should all be happy with that. We should all be patting ourselves on the back. We've done a good thing. Well done, us. Oh no, we put off someone from Discus. David, come back to the dark side. Lots of people make out Discus are the hardest thing in the world, and sure, they can be problematic just like any fish. I think the main thing is because they're normally quite expensive, any problem with an expensive fish just feels worse. I know that sounds like a terrible thing to say, because all lives are precious and all that kind of stuff, but a life that costs you 200 quid, if that goes wrong, that's infuriating to say the least. Maybe that's just because I'm Scottish. But they're not as hard as people make out most of the time, and they're such a rewarding fish, such the king of the freshwater aquarium. What more could you want than that? I think the question was about breeding Discus. I think it was too, so let me go back and find. You'd even posted it in the appropriate chat place as well. Sorry, I'm just trying to find it. This is interesting watching. Man scrolls through Discord trying to find. Well, I'll use this one too, because this is by Rudy40 on Discord as well. Paul H had a question about tank size for Discus breeding. I'm also thinking of setting up a more serious system for that as well. Any thoughts on tanks for breeding and then grow out? Any concern with common sump systems for a setup with a couple of breeding tanks and a grow out tank? Thoughts? Yes. So, the ideal size, or the perceived wisdom of the ideal size for discus breeding is an 18-inch cube. So you get a pair of discus, you get a discus breeding cone or a breeding slate or something like that, a sponge filter, 18-inch cube, arrow water generally, and you're good to go. So arrow is the bit that you don't necessarily need. So I've never bred with arrow water. My water's been good enough, but I've just been very lucky. The reason I say arrow is because you generally want a low TDS. TDS is the total dissolved solids, and you get TDS meters, and you get to measure. It's basically how many things are in your water. It doesn't tell you what those things are, it just tells you how many of them are. And you want that number to be low because that gives you the biggest yield from your discus. So, just one more word on TDS. Just because you've got a low TDS, if you had a TDS of 1, so that says I've got 1 part per million as a dissolved solid. That could be copper or something terrible. So it's alone, the TDS means nothing. But in general, the lower the better. So you get your cube. If you are using arrow water, you need to remineralize that water because arrow isn't good on its own. It just means arrow means reverse osmosis, which in itself is a weird concept. But anyway, it means it's water with everything taken out except water. So you then need to add in the essential minerals back into the water. So you use Discus Trace or AN other branded remineralization product. That gives you your perfect environment to house your discs in. Whack the temperature up, not necessarily more than you would normally, and have a pair of discus, and they will eventually lay eggs. That's the thinking. You then need to consider the discus stages of breeding. So what they do is they will lay eggs, and then they will generally sit there and fan those eggs for a few days. Those eggs will turn into wrigglers, so you'll see the eggs hatch, they'll turn into wrigglers, and they'll be still attached to whatever it is they've laid on, but moving around, and then they'll go free swimming. When they go free swimming, they start to feed on the parents, so they'll feed on the slime coat of the parents. So you'll see the parents will generally go darker if they can, because Asian discus and things like that have been so bred, they don't all have the ability to go super dark anymore. But that's a thing to trigger the fry will go and look for the darkest thing in the tank, assume it's the parents, and assume that's where they're going to get their dinner from. So they'll feed off the parents for a bit. At some point, that will turn into, they'll feed off the parents, and the parents will be like, get the, you fucker, get, and they'll start getting lumps taken out of them by the fry. So if they get to that stage, you kind of need to separate the fry from the parents. You can do that with a divider, or you can just move them into a new tank. Not all fry will take lumps. Some of them will live happily with each other throughout the life cycle until they've grown up properly. But some of them won't. So you might want to consider a second tank. So if that's an 18-inch cube, you might want to double that. So into a 36-inch or something like that. 2 foot, 3 foot. Perfect for growing up, growing on your discus onto the next stage. And this bit really depends on the yield you get from your fish. So if you get, I don't know, if you get 200 fry, that's a very different proposition than if you get 30 fry. 30 fry are a lot easier to look after than 200. 200 will need a lot of water changing, a lot of space, and during this time there's loads of hormones and everything being released into the water which are controlling what else is going on. So that might, in a proper breeding setup, that might be a reason not to do a centralised sump system, for instance, because while the parents have fry, they are generally not going to be releasing the hormones to kick off the breeding cycle again. But if you move them away, and they're not on a centralised sump, that water gets cleaned and they think, right, let's start again, and they start breeding again. If they're on a central sump, they're sharing the same water and those hormones are still in the water, and they're going, nah, I'm not into it, and they won't breed again. I mean, some fish will just won't stop breeding no matter what you do, but generally that's what might happen. When I was doing it, I like to have, for every breeding tank, I like to have 2 growing on tanks. So I'd have I didn't use 18-inch, by the way, so that's just a recommendation. I had 12 by 18 by 15, and that worked quite well. I also had 2-foot breeding tanks. That worked quite well as well. So 18 inch is just that's a sweet spot. That's a good number to get. So I would have the breeding tank with the parents, let them get to wrigglers and free swimmers. If they either caused a problem by taking chunks out or got big enough to start feeding on their own, I would then move them into the next size up, which was usually double the size of the breeding tank, assuming again that was appropriate for the amount of fish that I got. Feed them up into there, and then I'd move them up lastly into, when they were effectively small juvenile discus fish, move them into a bigger tank, which might be 3 or 4 foot, and then they'd be feeding on things like beef heart and all the other good things that I'd be feeding them at the time. You don't have to do those things. You can take out one of those. One of my pardon me, one of my friends had basically had a big 6-foot tank, and he would just go breeding tank, grow on tank, and once they got to like 1.5 inches, chuck them into the big 6-foot tank and just have them all in there. So horses for courses. I hope that answers the question. I hope I'm still live, because I accidentally clicked off OBS and I can't see anything anymore. Right. Yes, there. Where do we get to? Have you figured the total capacity of Mega Tank yet? I reckon it's going to be somewhere around 2,500 to 3,000 litres, depending on what I do with the sump. So, big enough for most things that I might want to keep in it, let's put it that way. I'm still struggling to pin down what I want to keep in it. I might just need to rescue something that someone says, oh, I've got this massive fish and don't know what to do with it. I'll take it, and then that'll make my mind up for me. I'm kind of going in between all the monsters. Like Callum keeps sending me pictures of things. I'm like, ooh, look at this. And I go, oh, that's another thing I need to consider. And then, like, seeing the war in Ukraine, all the energy prices are going to go up even more than they were already going to go up. And I'm like, how am I going to heat this 3,000 litre tank? So it might be goldfish or some other kind of temperate species. Who knows? But yeah, I think it's going to end up around about 2,500, something along those lines. Plenty big enough, let's put it that way. Its footprint is 8 foot by 4 foot by 3 foot. So, we'll see. You're not alone when losing an expensive discus compared to a neon tetra. I think people see something different and think it's a big issue, then bombard the tank with treatment and whatnot, ending up causing a bigger issue. Yeah, you're not wrong. Discus have this thing as well about they masquerade illnesses. So they'll have these bacterial nodes, and everyone's like, oh my god, my discus has got hole in the head disease. And you've got, no, it's got a little lump. It'll do a water change, it'll go away. Or its fins are rotting away. And like, yeah, do a water change, it'll go away. They're not as, there used to be that, it's almost like a meme, where goldfish would be swimming around going, oh, dirty water, love it, yay, discus, that plant looks different, I think I'll die, they're just not that delicate. I think everybody wants to treat them as if they're delicate, so they make sure that their investment is protected. I think that's more what the problem is. For the monster tank, what fish have you considered? Maybe an arowana, if that's how you spell it. It's not how you spell it, but it's close enough. I know what you mean. Definitely considered arowana. I can't offhand think of anything I haven't definitely considered. I think that's my problem at the moment. Everything from let's have 10,000 guppies to let's have stingrays, catfish, monster, piranhas, pacus, not pacus, I don't want pacus, that's the only thing I don't want actually, but yeah, a little bit of everything. A massive discus tank, massive rainbow fish tank, massive monster tank, Oscars, South American cichlids, a massive African cichlid tank. Just, I've had a little bit of a thought about every single fish in existence living in that tank, and that's where my problem is. I'm just concentrating on building the damn thing, and then I'll worry about what I want to put in it. I kind of really like the idea of goldfish as well, so I don't know. Simon, it really bothers me when any of my fish pass away. I'm quite attached to them, and also sometimes made worse when you give the tanks all the love and attention. It can be upsetting. It can be, and that I totally feel for you there, Simon. The amount of time, money, effort, thought I put into my fish keeping hobby and fish keeping tanks, and then when the little bastards go and die on me, it's infuriating as well as upsetting sometimes. And a lot of the time you have to just sit down, think to yourself, I'm not the problem here. Things do die. So you have to allow yourself to give yourself a little bit of a break sometimes, because it can be upsetting. You're responsible for this thing, and it should be no more upsetting when you lose a neon tetra than when you lose the family dog. They're both lives. They're both deserving of responsibility and all that kind of thing. But it just isn't. I think if you're going to get into the fish keeping hobby, you have to draw that line a little bit higher or a little bit lower, depending on which way you're looking at it. That your dog will fend for itself a lot more than your tiny fish you've encased in a glass box can fend for itself. It's not like it can steal the sausage off your dinner plate. So as long as you're doing the thing that you're doing, I think you just have to give yourself, as long as you're doing the right things and trying your hardest and giving an appropriate level of care, I think you have to give yourself a break. If you lose some fish, you will kill fish. Fish will die. I've killed fish by accident. I've had fish die when I did nothing wrong. I've tried everything to keep them from dying. I've got a discus at the moment. I've got one of my oldest discus that I've got at the moment. It's on its way out. There's nothing I can do for it anymore, and it's killing me that I'm like, ugh, looking at this fish every time I go down, and you can just see it getting thinner and a little more lethargic each time. It's still eating, it's still trying, it's just old. I mean, it's not that old, but there's no like, Discus should live 10 years, so when it only lives 8, you're like, damn it, I've been shortchanged. It's just, it's a range. And it can be upsetting because you're like, I've given you just as much care as every other fish in this tank, so why are you? So, you know. Paul Burke, the man who said he wasn't going to come tonight because it's his wife's birthday. Happy birthday, Nick. We're doing happy birthdays for everyone tonight. So, yes, if everyone would wish my colleague Paul Burke's wife, Nick, happy birthday. Sound effects and everything. How's Elizabeth's tank doing? It's doing really well. I'm enjoying how much she's getting. Well, this is handy that you're here, Paul, because this is the tank I was talking about giving to you. I've given it to my daughter, sorry. We've given her her betta fish Snowflake. Is doing really well, actually. So we've got to set up with the filter. She's interested in it. She's playing with it every day and feeding it and wanting to learn about water changes and learning about the nitrogen cycle and all that kind of stuff. And not in a, oh God, Dad, stop talking about this. She's actually asking me questions about it and making sure that he's happy and that we're doing all the right things. So yeah, it's going really well. It's one of the jobs for this weekend, actually, is to make a lid for it, because betta fish can be a bit notoriously jumpy. So I've bought a load of floating plants to try and stop that for the moment, because it's in an open top tank at the moment. Pardon me. But I might try and fashion some kind of lid so to stop it jumping. But other than that, it's doing pretty well. QC Aquaholic, hello there. Jab as well, hello there yourself. Thanks for the info. Fingers crossed I have success. Yeah, it's the raising of fry is just, it blows my mind every time it happens. I think it's fantastic. Jav's been moving house, no internet for 3 weeks. I know that pain. So welcome back to the world of the future. We need some internet. Courtney, we move house in 3 weeks. Callum's job is moving our 5.5 foot tank. That's not fun. I'd help you, but shoulders really sore. Let me know if I can help in any way. Rainbow shark. That's that for my big tank. Get a whale. Yeah. My local fish shop has a Goliath tigerfish for sale if you want it. No, I don't think I do want that. Callum showed me a picture of some, what was that, shovel-nosed cat and various other things today. Rants and Reviews says, after 40 years in the hobby, I've come to the conclusion that we fiddle with our tanks far too much. Do you know what? I think you're probably right. Somebody who I was very respected in the hobby, but was on one of these things where they, what one piece of advice could you get? And it was, keep your hands out your tank. I think some people take that too literally, so there obviously are times to get your hands into your tank. But yeah, and I think I'm guilty of it as well, fiddling too much. I try and fiddle outside the tanks as much as I do inside the tanks these days, getting the setups right, to making sure everything's as easy as possible to be maintenance free or maintenance easy. But yeah, I think that's sage advice. Brian, what? So yeah, okay, and then let's have your suggestions of what should I keep in Mega Tank. I almost guarantee there'll be nothing in there I haven't considered. Well, there might be a few things, but don't just suggest a fish. Make the case for it. Why should I keep that thing? You've got 7 minutes. Let's hear some good suggestions. Let's see if I can get some new ideas. So, bala sharks and a big group of clown loaches. Not a bad shout. So, a big group of clown loaches. I think this is a tank that could sustain a big group of clown loaches, and clown loaches do get big. It does make me wonder when you see them being sold in a lot of fish shops, when they get sold at this size and people tell them, oh yeah, they'll grow to about that size. I'm like, no, they'll grow to about that size. And bala sharks, again, a big group of bala sharks, let them grow to their actual, not that big, their actual size that they can get to. That's a good idea. Geophagus, Altifrons, no, not my favourite fish. Geophagus, I am not a fan of them. Oh, maybe I'm being too harsh on them. I don't know. I don't like Geophagus because, as an idiot, I bought some, not realising that Geophagus literally translates to Earth Eater, and took some bad advice from someone saying, would these be good in a planted tank? Yeah, they will. Put them in, destroyed. So, ever since then, I've broken things. Ever since then, I've not liked Geophagus. Don't get me wrong, some of them are very stunning, but I think I've just got like a mental block when it comes to them. Jaspal, is that Jaspal who I bought the fish tanks from? I think it might be. Hello. So Jaspal was going to give me, I don't know if I'm saying that right, Jaspal. He was the one that gave me the idea of using a dining room table for the window for the big fish tank, which would have worked, I think, if it was just a bit thicker. Lighten up a bit. Okay, sorry. Let's do some good news stories, shall we? Well, where are we up to? Why don't you do this on Discord too? What the whole fish ideas? Yeah, by all means. Nothing your mate has kept over the Canadian border. I mean, I feel that if I keep anything the king of DIY, if I keep anything the king of DIY has kept, I'll be accused of copying. But at the same time, he's kept a lot of fish, so that kind of limits me. So I'm not going to bother with that. Everything's on the table. If I like it, I will keep it. And a guest on the tank. False promises. Paul, I'll get you a discount on a Fluval Flex. It's a much better tank for you anyway. Humphrey will love the big tank. Do you know what? My kids have said that as well. So that might be the first inhabitant of the big tank, is just put Humphrey in there on his own, because he has now spent the better part of 6 months in a tank that's too small for him. So I might just give him the freedom of like 3,000 litres worth, just to go, have a bit of fun. Simon can help Paul with the not coming back. We don't kick people out. No, need all the subscribers we can get. I would consider it a South American community. Generally, people will have one or two examples, but rarely a group of various species together. Yeah, that's up there. That's high on the list. I just don't know enough about South American fish. I've had a Texas cichlid in the past. I've had, obviously, flower horns, not that they're South American, since they're made up. But I've had a couple of dabbles into the world of large South American cichlids. But it's a whole scene, though. It's like if you're a discus guy, or you're a South American cichlid guy, or you're a live bearer guy, or whatever. So I like to dabble in everything, and I probably fall into the discus camp more than anything. But I like the idea of, I have the big tank, I can get the big fish, and I can learn more about the big cichlids, and getting some breeding groups of things in there, because I mean they are pretty cool. The aggressive, smaller, aggressive, colourful, just cool fish. I mean, at the end of the day, that's all I want, some cool fish. I'm going to keep some cool fish in there. I don't really want to be rotating stock. I mean, I think that's my biggest problem, is I don't really want to be rotating stock for just YouTube views. So I really want to think about something that's going to give me something all the time. Oscars, I've seen that yet. Definitely have some Oscars in there. I love Oscars. I think they're fantastic. I've never kept them, so this is a perfect opportunity to put some in there. But yeah, I don't want to, as much as this is going to be great for YouTube, because, well, yeah, I can make videos about my big tank. I want to pick stock and stick at it. I'm not going to. So the parallels with the king of DIY here might be, I'm not going to pick something but then cycle through it every 6 months, change it and get something else. I want something, and I'm going to keep that for the life cycle of that thing. So we'll see. So yes, Oscars, as Tam and Bell suggest. Flagtails, definitely. That's... yeah, there's very few things I'm going to say no to. Red-tailed catfish, no, not going to put one of them in there. But most other things, yes. But yeah, flagtails, that could be good. I mean, that kind of... the idea that we talked about earlier of the clown loaches and the bala sharks, that would be really cool to have a tank of those fish, which people would say are fairly common beginner type fish, but I could show them off at their full size. That would be a tank that is appropriate for them, and I could put in things like flagtails and all that kind of stuff as well with them. But yeah, we'll need to see. Pardon me. How many fish could you fit in a 5-gallon 20 litres? I love the fact that everybody started to convert gallons to litres for me, because I'm so terrible at it. How many fish could you fit in a 5-gallon tank, such as Celestial Pearl Daniels and Chili Rasboras? I mean, probably a few. Let's go with a vague number, like a few. So a 20-litre tank, that's smaller than that tank, but the nano fish like your Chili Rasboras and your Celestial Pearl Daniels are very small fish, so you could probably happily keep a good dozen of them in there. Your problem is maintaining that water quality. Your problem is that's a small body of water. The bio load off a dozen of those fish would probably be fine in there, but because your volume of water is so small, any small changes is affecting a large percentage of that tank volume. So I probably would want to keep it down, keep the numbers lower, so maybe not go as many as a dozen. Personally, I'd be going for a bigger tank. That's just me, but you know. Right, I think we're nearly out of time, but we've run over time. The journey from framing to filling is going to be fun. Do you know what it is? I've been doing a bit of work in there today. I've been attaching some plywood, and it's looking good. It's just I'm now at that stage where I need to know what I'm going to do with the glass, because I can't do the next bit until I know whether I've got the glass sorted or not. Because once I've got the glass sorted, even if I haven't ordered it, I know what size it's going to be. I know whether or not I need to put in an extra middle bit, and then I can start the waterproofing. So we'll see. You can have a little Aquarium Adventures mascot, or shall I say a big mascot? Yeah, I think it would be good. So, as ever, if you've enjoyed this, or even if you haven't, if you would click the subscribe button, I would be eternally grateful. All the other admin, go and watch some videos, go and click some clickable things. If you click a like button, click the share button, click the join button, click the super chat button. If there's a button, click it. You don't have to click them all. If you want to join in on the after show party, go and click on the Discord server. Join us down there. And if you want to carry on the YouTube train, I'm sure there will be someone else streaming. Let's have a look. Pardon me. I'm sure Cold Water Aquatics will be streaming, and you can go and learn about... In fact, I might watch that tonight. Yes, he is indeed. So I might need some cold water aquarium fish ideas, so I don't have to heat Mega Tank. So yeah, go and watch that. I'm sure Scott will be putting a link in to the bottom. Oh, Fishy first aid kit. That was the one that I didn't mention. So I will do a video about Fishy first aid kits, but I don't really keep anything in stock, so to speak, because most of it has an expiry date. So my go-to things are the Esha products, because I can get most of them on Amazon next day delivery. So I do have things like Esha 2000, the Esha Exit, and they will treat a multitude of things. So I have a couple of the Esha things that I keep in stock. But my most important thing is some Seachem Safe or Seachem Prime, or some really strong dechlorinator or detoxifier, because I find that rather than fish getting sick, I might have a tank crash, which will then make fish get sick. So if a tank crashes, I can chuck in some Safe, which detoxifies everything. I can catch something before it gets to the point of a fish getting sick, and then me having to treat the fish. But in the same way, I also do keep a few things just on hand, and it's mostly the Esha things. I don't anything that has fix in the title, like Pimafix, Smellifix. I think that's all nonsense, so I don't keep any of them. And just mostly the things that I come across more often than not are bacterial infections, fungal infections, worms. So they tend to be the things that I keep. But yeah, I will do a little bit of I'll do a little bit of a video about the type of medications we use. That's another good idea. I shall write that down. But anyway, thank you very much, everyone. If you don't want to watch Cold Water Aquatics, I think Corvus Oskin is also live at the moment. Or you can go onto the Discord server, or you can go and have a beer, or you can go and watch some TV, or you can go and do whatever you want. But go and watch one of my videos. And with that, I will say thank you very much for joining me, and we'll see you next week. Bye!